the Republic of Singapore Air Force is the air arm of the Singapore Armed Forces. It was first established in 1968 as the Singapore Air Defence Command. In 1975, it was renamed the Republic of Singapore Air Force. History: in January 1968, the British announced the imminent withdrawal of all their troops east of Suez by the end of 1971. Prior to then, Singapore had depended completely on Britain's Royal Air Force for its air defence, while the newly established Singapore Armed Forces had concentrated its efforts mainly on building up the Singapore Army. The predecessor to the RSAF, the SADC, was formed in September 1968. The SADC's immediate task was to set up the flying training school to train pilots. Qualified flying instructors were obtained through Airwork Services Limited, a UK-based company specialising in defence services. Basic training for pilots was carried out using 2 Cessna light aircraft hired from the Singapore Flying Club. The SADC also enlisted the help of the Royal Air Force, which introduced the first flying training syllabus and provided 2 RSAF pilots as instructors, as well as facilities and services at Seletar Airport. Finally, the first batch of 6 pilot trainees was sent to the United Kingdom in August 1968 to undergo training in various technical disciplines. The training was based on the Hawker Hunter, the SADC's first air defence fighter. The following month, another pioneer group of technicians, this time from the rotary wing, were sent to France to begin their technical training on the Your Copyright Rosparty Al-Alouette 3 helicopter. In 1969, a number of local RAF technicians were released to join the fledgling SADC. These local technicians had experience working on fixed-wing RAF aircraft such as the Hawker Hunter, Gloucester Javelin, English Electric Canberra, English Electric Lightning and Avro Shackleton, as well as rotary-wing RAF aircraft such as the Bristol Belvedere, Westland Wessex and Westland Whirlwind. 8 Cessna 172K aircraft the SADC's first arrived in May 1969 to be used for basic pilot training. By December, the first batch of students completed the course. Of these, 6 were sent to the UK to receive further training. On their return to Singapore in 1970, they were ready to operate the then newly acquired Hawker Hunter fighter aircraft. The pace of training pilots and ground crew picked up gradually. On August 1, 1969, Minister for the Interior and Defence, Lim Kim San, inaugurated the flying training school at Tengah Air Base. The inauguration of FTS brought SADC closer to its goal of fulfilling the heavy responsibility of defending Singapore's airspace. The subsequent arrival of the BAC Striker Masters in 1969, used for advanced phase flying training, meant that pilot trainees were now able to earn their initial wings locally rather than overseas. The first batch of locally trained fighter pilots were trained at the FTS and graduated in November 1970. Amongst this batch was 2 Lieutenant Goh Yong Siang, who later rose to the appointment of Chief of Air Force on July 1, 1995. Gradually, the SADC had its own pilots, flying instructors, air traffic controllers, and ground crew. When Britain brought forward its plan to withdraw its forces by September 1971, the SADC was suddenly entrusted with a huge responsibility and resources. Britain's former air bases Tengah, Seletar, Sembawang and Changi were handed over to the SADC, as well as its air defence radar station and Bloodhound 2 surface-to-air missiles. In 1973, the SADC procured short Skivan search and locate aircraft and Douglas A-4 Skyhawk fighter bombers. With a reliable mix of fighters, fighter bombers, helicopters and transport aircraft, the SADC was ready to assume the functions of a full-fledged air force. On April 1, 1975, the SADC was renamed the Republic of Singapore Air Force. One of its first commanders was LTC Atin Chai. Organization: the RSAF is led by the Chief of the Air Force. The current CAF is Major General Hushair Mob. The CAF reports directly to the Chief of Defence Force and is assisted by the Chief of Staff, BG Wong Hot Sun. The Chief Warrant Officer of Air Force is ME5 Andrew Koh. The air staff comprises 6 functional departments: air manpower, air intelligence, air operations, air logistics, air plans and air training. There are also 2 specialist departments, the Air Force Inspectorate and the Office of the Chief Air Force Medical Officer. In January 5, 2007, Defense Minister Teo Chee-hean announced that the Air Force organization chart will be restructured into 5 major commands, namely the Air Defense and Operations Command, the Air Combat Command, the Participation Command, the Air Power Generation Command and the Unmanned Aerial Vehicle Command. The first to be inaugurated was ADOC, along the restructuring announcement. ADOC is the principal agency in charge of planning and executing peacetime operations and air defense. ADOC is also responsible for the development and operational readiness of the command and control and ground-based air defense units of the RSAF. ADOC comprises Air Surveillance Control Group, National Air Defense Group and Air Operations Control Group. UAV Command was the second command to be inaugurated and become operational in May 2007. The main structures under UCR Operations and System Development Group, headed by Deputy Commander of UCN Squadrons and UAV Training School. The next command to be inaugurated was PC in January 2008. Participation Command comprises the Operations Development Group, the Helicopter Group, the Tactical Air Support Group, and the Divisional Air Defense Group. The last 2 commands, ACC and APGC, were inaugurated together in August 2008 in conjunction with the RSAF 40th anniversary. The ACC will bring together fighter and transport squadrons under one command, with central planning, control and execution of the air battle in operations. The APGC will enhance the missions of the ACC by ensuring that all air bases remain operational at all times, as well as improving the servicing and turnaround of aircraft to ensure continuous and responsive operations. The ACC is responsible for the planning, control and execution of the air battle in operations. It brings together all fighter and transport squadrons that will carry out these tasks under a single command, which will be responsible for training the pilots and aircrew to think and operate in a fully integrated way. The ACC consists of the Integrated System Development Group, Operations Development Group, Integrated System Development Group, Fighter Group and Transport Group. The APGC is set up to enable the RSAF to generate and sustain effective, timely and robust air power to meet the operational needs of the SAF. With the APGC, higher operational efficiency within each RSAF air base, and secondly, greater integration across the 4 bases are achieved. The APGC consists of the Operations Development Group and 4 air bases, Changi Air Base, Paya Lebar Air Base, Sembawang Air Base and Tengah Air Base. The 4 support squadrons still remain organic to each base but are under direct command of APGC. These 4 squadrons are, Airfield Maintenance Squadron, Ground Logistics Squadron, Field Defense Squadron and Flying Support Squadron. Overview: the backbone of the RSAF is formed by the Block 52 52nd plus F-16 Fighting Falcons. These are armed with US-supplied AIM-120C AMRAAM missiles and LANTIRN targeting pods, laser-guided munitions and conformal fuel tanks for long-range strike. While Singapore initially bought as many as 70 F-16 planes, on November 18, 2004, it was announced that the RSAF would offer its remaining 7 F-16 Ares per bytes to the Royal Thai Air Force. It is believed that these early Block 15 OCU aircraft were upgraded to Falcon 1 standard by Saint Aerospace before the transfer and delivered in late 2005. In return, the RSAF was permitted to train at the Udon Royal Thai Air Force Base in northeast Thailand for a specified number of days each year. This would mean that the RSAF will operate only the Block 52 52nd plus model, as many as 62 F-16 CJ-DJ planes. Due to severe airspace constraints within Singapore, the RSAF operates its aircraft at several overseas locations in order to provide greater exposure to its pilots. With the F-16CD Fighting Falcons, KC-135 are Stratotankers, AH-64D Apaches and CH-47SD Chinook helicopters based in the USA, the Marquette S-211s, PC-21s, and Super Puma helicopters in Australia, and the TA-4SU Super Skyhawks in France. Almost one-third of the force's inventory is based outside Singapore. In 1994, the RSAF commenced a modernization program for its fleet of approximately 49 operational F-5E and F-5F aircraft. The upgrade was performed by Singapore Technologies Aerospace, and the upgraded aircraft were designated F-5S and F-5T respectively, operating from Paya Lebar Air Base. These upgraded F-5 seconds per ton, equipped with a Galileo Avionica's FIA Grifo FX band radar, are thought to be capable of firing the AIM-120 AMRAAM missile, but to date, no actual live firing has actually been reported. For in-flight refueling, 4 KC-135RS and 4 KC-130BS are commissioned to support the fighter force of F-16CDS and F-5STS. Airborne early warning and control capability was introduced in 1987 when 4 E-2C Hawkeyes were delivered to 111 Squadron. The duty of maritime patrol and coastal surveillance is performed by the 5 Fokker 50 MPA of 121 Squadron, which can be armed with long-range anti-shipping AGM-84 Harpoon missiles and ASW torpedoes. As part of its fleet renewal process, the RSAF officially withdrew its fleet of Saint Aerospace A4SU Super Skyhawk from frontline service on March 31, 2005 after 31 years of operations. The A4SU's achievements included flying directly from Singapore to the Philippines, incorporating the RSAF's first air-to-air refueling mission in 1986, as well as the excellent aerobatic display of the red and white Super Skyhawks flown by the RSAF Black Knights during Asian Aerospace 1990. A month before its retirement, the Skyhawk Squadron won top honors in a strike exercise against its more modern F-16 and F-5 counterparts. Singapore ordered a total of 20 AH-64D Apache Longbow attack helicopters in 2 batches. After a long period of negotiations over the delivery of the sophisticated Longbow fire control radar, the first batch of 8 aircraft, fitted with the fire control radar, was delivered on May 17, 2002. The second batch of 12 Apaches were ordered in 2001, even before the first delivery took place. All of the initial 8 Apaches are based in the USA. 3 of the Apache Longbows returned in January 2006 at the request of the Minister of Defense. Apart from the 6 CH-47SDs delivered from 1996, a new batch of 6 aircraft was ordered in 1997, with an option of 4 extra airframes. At least 12 CH-47SD have been delivered and are in service at Sembawang Air Base. It is believed that these had been upgraded to the SD standard prior to delivery. 8 CH-47SDs were also deployed to support the relief efforts in the aftermath of the Indonesian tsunami. It was the first and one of the few countries to reach the affected areas. The RSAF deployed dozens of C-130HS, CH-47SDs and AS-332 milliseconds there, along with 3 of the RSN's latest landing ship tanks, as well as Singapore Armed Forces vehicles, engineers, and medical teams. In September 2005, the RSAF sent 3 CH-47SD Chinook helicopters, later augmented by a 4th CH-47SD Chinook, to provide assistance in the rescue and evacuation of stranded civilians after Hurricane Katrina struck New Orleans and nearby areas in the United States. The humanitarian effort by Singapore involved more aircraft than any other foreign countries. Since 2003, the RSAF has also made deployments of KC-135 tankers and C-130 aircraft to the Persian Gulf in support of the multinational efforts for the reconstruction of Iraq. RSAF personnel have carried out airlift, transportation and supply, and air-to-air refueling missions in support of the multinational forces, assisting the coalition in carrying supplies and personnel, transporting humanitarian material and conducting medical evacuation operations. In September 2013, Defense Minister Ng Eng Hen stated in a parliamentary reply that Singapore would soon acquire the Aster 30 land-based missile system. Air bases. Changi Air Base, 112 SQN4 KC-135R, 121 SQN4 Fokker 50, 5 Fokker 50 ME2. Changi Air Base, 145 SQN20 F-16 DBLK 52+. Paya Lebar Air Base, 122 SQN6 C-130H, 4 KC-130B, 141 SQN6 F-5S, 1 F-5TA Euro disbanded since November 2005 with aircraft being reassigned to 144 and 149 SQN, 144 SQN15 F-5S, 7 F-5T, 149 SQN15 F-5S, 1 F-5T. Currently transitioning to the F-15SG, received 5 F-15SG to date. Sembawang Air Base, 120 SQN-20 AH-64D Longbow Apache, 123 SQN-6S-70B Seahawks, 124 SQN-4 EC-120 Colibri, 125 SQN-22 AS-332M Super Puma, 126 SQN-12 AS-532 UL Cougar, 127 SQN-6 CH-47D, 12 CH-47SD. Tengah Air Base, 111 SQN-4 G550, 116 SQN Hermes 450, 140 SQN-9 F-16C, 6 F-16 DBLK 52, 142 SQN 18 tons per A-4 SU Super Skyhawks Euro disbanded in 2004. 143 SQN 5 F-16C, 8 F-16 DBLK 52, RSAF Black Knights Euro RSAF's aerobatic team. Chongpang Camp SADA, 3rd DA ABS-70 SAM, Igla SAM, Giraffe Radar, 6th DA ABS-70 SAM, Igla SAM, Giraffe Radar, 9th DA ABS-70 SAM, Igla SAM, Giraffe Radar, 18th DA Mistral SAM, 160 SQN Oerlikon 35 MAA guns. Lim Chu Kang Camp 2 SADA, 163 SQN Raytheon 1 Hawk SAM, 165 SQN Rapier SAM, ABS-70 SAM, Spider SAM. Danao Camp, 201 SQN FPS 117 radar. Other assets of SADA, 203 SQN LORADS radar. Murai Camp, 119 SQN IAI Heron, 128 SQN 40 IAI Searcher. Personnel. Military ranks in the Singapore Armed Forces are identical across the three services except for the flag ranks of the RSN. They are based on the Army model. The official table of ranks stops at 3 stars for all three services. NATO rank codes are not officially used, but are listed here for easy comparison with other armed forces. Like the Navy, the majority of Air Force personnel are regulars. This is due to the specialized and technical nature of many jobs. The employment of national servicemen in various roles are limited mostly to the infantry like field defense squadrons which do not require such specialized training. Overseas detachments. BA 120 Kazoo Air Base 150 SQN, 18A, A4SU/TA4SU. As of February 2011, 11 Super Skyhawks remained in service, 4 of which are single-seater A4SUs while the other 7 are twin-seater TA4SUs. Redmond Taylor AHP Euro Grand Prairie AASF 149th Avenue, 6A, CH-47SD. Luke Air Force Base, 425 FTS, 8A, F-16C, 6A, F-16D. Mountain Home Air Force Base, 428 FTS, 10A, F-15SG. Oki Army Aviation Center, 126 SQN, 12A, AS-532 UL Cougar. RAAF Base Pierce, 130 SQN, 19A, PC-21. Silver Bell Army Heliport, East/1-285th Avenue, 8A, AH-64D. Aircraft. The F-15SG Strike Eagle is a variant of the F-15E Strike Eagle and is similar in configuration to the F-15K sold to South Korea, but differs in the addition of the APG-63, B, 3 active electronically scan array radar developed by Raytheon. The F-15SG will be powered by 2 General Electric F-110 GE-129 29,400 pound-force thrust engines. In February 2003, Singapore joined the JSF program's system design and development phase, as a security cooperation participant. The first deliveries of the F-35 are not expected before 2015, but replacement for some of the Saint Aerospace A4SU Super Skyhawks was needed by 2007. As a start, 20 F-16D Block 52 Plus have been delivered from 2003 under Project Peace Carvin 4. The RSAF embarked on its next-generation fighter program to replace the aging A4SU Super Skyhawks. The original list of competitors was shortlisted to the final 2 Dassault Rafale and the F-15SG Strike Eagle. The DSTA conducted detailed technical assessment, simulations and other tests to assess the final selection. On September 6, 2005, it was announced that the Boeing F-15SG Strike Eagle had won the contract over the Rafale. The initial order is for 12 aircraft with 8 options. Eventually, as many as 40 to 60 aircraft may be procured in several batches. Pending news on Lockheed Martin's F-35 Lightning II's progress, more F-15SGs may be bought, with the upper limit, as disclosed by the RSAF, being 80 F-15SG aircraft in total. On October 22, 2007, Singapore's Ministry of Defence exercised the option to purchase 8 more F-15SG fighters as part of the original contract signed in 2005. Along with this buy, an additional order for 4 F-15SGs was made, bringing the total number of F-15SGs purchased to 24. In January 2005, it was announced that 6 Sikorsky S-70B naval helicopters will be purchased, complete with anti-surface and anti-submarine weapons and sensors. These will be operated by RSAF pilots, with system specialists of the Republic of Singapore Navy operating the sensors and weaponry. They will operate from the Navy's new Formidable-class frigates, and when operating from land will be based at Sembawang Air Base. All 20 AH-64D Longbow attack helicopters have been delivered, achieving pilot IOC. 12 of these Longbow Apaches were deployed back to Singapore and took part in combined arms exercises with the Army. In April 2007, it was announced that the 4E-2C Hawkeyes were to be replaced with 4 Gulfstream G550S, which would become the primary airborne early warning aircraft for the RSAF. Not included in the deal is an additional G550 as an AEW trainer, which will be acquired and maintained by Saint Aerospace on behalf of RSAF. In July 2010, the Alenia Aramaki M346 Master was selected by the RSAF to replace the A4SU Super Skyhawks in the advanced jet training role, currently based at BA-120 Cazaux Air Base in France. And in a press release by the Singaporean Ministry of Defence on September 28, 2008, Saint Aerospace had been awarded the contract to acquire 12 M346 and a ground-based training system on behalf of RSAF. As stipulated in the contract, Saint Aerospace will act as the main contractor to maintain the aircraft after delivery by Alenia Aramaki, while Boeing would supply the training system. Delivery date is scheduled from 2012 onwards. The backbone of the transport fleet are the 4 KC-130B, 1 KC-130H and 5 C-130H Hercules transport aircraft, which are expected to remain in service through 2030. Will be undergoing an extensive modernization process to bring all 10 existing airframe to the same common standard. The first airframe, a KC-130B, was returned to frontline service on September 21, 2010. Saint Aerospace, the main contractor behind the project, is expected to upgrade the other 9 airframes for the RSAF within the next 7 years. Included in the package is the replacement of cockpit flight management system with a modern glass cockpit avionics suite, central engine displays to replace analog gauges, improved voice communications, digital autopilot, flight director, as well as a digital weather radar, which will make the aircraft global air traffic management compliant. Also, the C-130BS will receive an auxiliary power unit and environmental control system in common with the C-130HS. Once the upgrade is completed, this will effectively give the RSAF 5 refueler KC-130HS and 5 cargo C-130HS. In December 2010, the RSAF issued a letter of request to inspect stored ex-US Navy P-3C Orion aircraft that have been retired from active duty. Lockheed Martin believes the RSAF has a requirement of 4 to 5 of these aircraft, which would be modernized extensively before reintroduction into active service. Weaponry. Aircraft, current. Historic, fixed-wing aircraft. Hawker Hunter Euro-12A, FGA-74, 26A, FR-74 Ares per byte, and 8A, T-75 per hour were delivered to RSAF in 1970 and 1973. Upgraded in late 1970s by Lockheed Aircraft Services Singapore, the type was redesignated as FGA-74S, FR-74S and T-75S. Retired and phased out of service in 1992, only 4 were preserved as museum exhibits and gate guards, while the remaining 21 airworthy airframes were sold to an Australian warbird broker, Pacific Hunter Aviation Proprietary, in 1995. General Dynamics F-16 Fighting Falcon Euro-4A, F-16As and 4A, F-16BS delivered in 1988 under the Peace Carbon program. One F-16A was lost following a mid-air collision with another F-16A over South China Sea in 1990. All surviving airframes were retired in 2002 and were subsequently upgraded locally to Falcon 1 standard by Saint Aerospace before being transferred to Royal Thai Air Force in 2004. Short SC-7 Skivan Euro-6A, Skivan 3 milliseconds delivered in 1973 and retired in 1993. BAC Jet Provost Euro-5A, T-52s operated from the 1975 until 1980. BAC Striker Master Euro Total 25 received, all were retired in 1984 with 1 airframe preserved at the RSAF Museum while the remaining 13 airworthy airframes were sold to a warbird broker. Cessna 172 Euro-8A, F-172KS delivered in 1969, retired in 1972. Lockheed T-33 Shooting Star Euro-20A, T-33As, operated from 1980 until retired in 1985. SIAI Marchetti SF-260 Euro-14A, SF-260 milliseconds delivered in 1971 plus 12A, SF-260WS delivered in 1979 and 1981. All remaining 19 airworthy airframes retired in 2002 and transferred to the Indonesian Air Force. SIAI Marchetti S-211 Euro since 1984, 32A, S-211s were acquired for RSAF's basic jet training program. Phased out from June 2008, of the remaining 25 airworthy S-211s, 21 were sold off to International Air Parts Group Australia Proprietary Limited in 2009 while 4 were shipped back to Singapore, being preserved as museum exhibits. Rotary wing aircraft. Or copyright Rospati Al Alouette 3 Euro-8A, SA-316BS delivered in 1969, retired and transferred to Royal Malaysian Air Force in 1978. Eurocopter AS-350 Akuruila Euro-7A, AS-350BS for basic helicopter training, all delivered between 1981/82 and retired in 1992. Eurocopter AS-550 Fenka Euro-6A, AS-550A2 plus 14A, AS-550C2, all delivered in 1991 and was retired in December 2006. Subsequently, the 6 AS-550A2 were sold off to Chadian Air Force in 2010. Bell UH-1BA Euro-20A, UH-1BS for advanced helicopter training, operated from 1980 until 1988. Bell UH-1 Hour Euro Total 25 acquired, all are now retired except for 7 airframes which were refurbished and modernized before resale to the Philippine Air Force in a 2003 $12 million deal. Bell UH-1N Twin Huia Euro-3A, UH-1 Nanosecond delivered in 1977, all retired in 1985 and sold to Sri Lanka Air Force. Air Defence, Bristol Bloodhound MKI Sama Euro XRAF stock, all retired in 1994. Others, RSAF Black Knights. First formed in 1973 at Tengu Air Base, the Black Knights is RSAF's official aerobatic team and has been performing on an ad hoc basis since its inception, with volunteer pilots drawn from various frontline squadrons within the RSAF. The aerobatics team has performed on events including the recent Singapore Air Show 2014. RSAF Museum. The RSAF maintains the Air Force Museum, which was first located at Changi Air Base before it was relocated to a purpose-built building currently situated along Airport Road adjacent to Paya Lebar Air Base. The museum is open to the public and showcases the Air Force's history and capabilities. In popular culture, fictional television programs, Air Force, April 10, 1988, this Chinese-language drama series was filmed and produced by Singapore Broadcasting Corporation. Theme song of this drama series on YouTube. See also, List of Republic of Singapore Air Force Squadrons, MAAF, Singapore Armed Forces Ranks, References, Citations. Bibliography. http www. Global Comedia World Air Forces 2011-2012-90190 ASPX, external links, official website, Journal of the Singapore Armed Forces. Contains scholarly articles on military issues, including those pertaining to the SAF's transformation into a third-generation fighting force, RSAF Air Force News 2005, MINV, the NS Portal, accessed October 23, 2006. Ranks and Paramilitary Ranks of Singapore, accessed October 23, 2006. United States Department of State, Background Notes on Singapore, accessed October 23, 2006. Video clips, Teamwork in Action. A late 1970s RSAF documentary on YouTube, accessed May 24, 2011. RSAF 40th Anniversary Video. A First Generation on YouTube, accessed January 24, 2009. RSAF 40th Anniversary Video. A Second Generation on YouTube, accessed January 24, 2009. RSAF 40th Anniversary Video. A Third Generation on YouTube, accessed January 24, 2009. RSAF's newly delivered F-15SG arrives at Mountain Home AFB on YouTube, accessed May 12, 2009.